Monaco's Leonardo Jardim has once again proven what a top manager he is. If there's anyone Arsenal looking to replace Arsene Wenger, it has to be Jardim. Putting 6 past Man City and being the first manager ever to knock out Pep Guardiola at the Champions League before the semi-finals in the last 16 is one thing, but he has already shown an aptitude for dealing with Premier League sides and their managers. Arsenal themselves were given a lesson in defending and clinical finishing in 2015 when they lost 3-1 at the Emirates. A match which included a hilarious image of Per Mertesacker getting outpaced by the then 35-year-old chain-smoking, allegedly, Dimitar Berbatov. Of course, earlier this season, Monaco beat Tottenham at White Hart Lane and totally outclassed them on their own ground. Both times the scores were 2-1, but it could and should have been more. And unlike Arsenal, the wins weren't achieved through tactical manoeuvring. Monaco were just straight up better than Spurs. Which brings me back to 2015. After knocking out Arsenal, they nearly knocked out eventual finalist Juventus in a tight quarter-final, which over 2 legs was only decided by questionable Arturo Vidal penalty and Yannick Carrasco shooting straight at Buffon from close range. Back then, they were a largely counter-attacking side, whose greatest strength was their organisation. But Jardim has transformed Monaco into being statistically one of the best attacking side, no in fact, the best attacking side in Europe, filled with flair players, rampaging fullbacks, fluid and a versatile midfielder, and as Pep Guardiola put it, killer strikers. Best of all, Jardim has done this without sacrificing too much of their defensive edge. Depending on the occasion, Monaco can switch from attack to defence in a blink of an eye. This is the sort of tactical innovation Arsenal have lacked in eons. By comparison, Arsene Wenger, who has allowed Arsenal to grow stale with his tactical inflexibility and unwillingness to buy new players in the transfer market, or questionable misplaced loyalty, depending on how you see it. You see, what makes Jardim's success at Monaco so impressive is that the team he had in 2014-15, when they reached quarterfinals for the Champions League and also challenged for Ligue 1, is completely different to the team he has this season, and that is also challenging for Ligue 1. Last season, key players like Anthony Martial, Yannick Carrasco, Levin Kawaza, Jeffrey Kondogbia, Dimitar Berbatov and Ayman Abdebanour all left, meaning last season was a bit transitional. Nonetheless, they qualified for the Champions League and returned with an even better side than what they were beforehand. They've made fantastic use of their young players, some of which are set to become world class, and they've used the transfer market to plug any gaps within the squad. And all this goes back to Arsenal. They need a man who isn't afraid to make changes, has sound judgment when it comes to player recruitment, and can also motivate them to reach their potential. Wenger can no longer do this. We've seen firsthand as Sanchez, Ozil and Oxlade-Chamberlain all want out. Now it might be that they decide to leave no matter if Wenger stays or leaves, but if that's the case, Monaco already have their tailor-made replacements and Jardim has already forged a relationship with them. In fact, let's go through all of Arsenal's needs. Left back is an issue, as Gibbs and Monreal neither possess the physicality in defending nor the attacking prowess. In comes Benjamin Mendy. He stands at 6'2" with 8 assists already this season. Gibbs and Monreal combined have 8 assists in the last 2 seasons. Arsenal have been accused of lacking bite in the middle, with Xhaka being too mobile, El Nene being a jack of all trades, and Coquelin just lacking the required quality. In that case, Bakayoko and Fabinho offer a massive improvement in all levels. They cover large amounts of ground, with Bakayoko being more of a tackler and Fabinho being more of a passer. Honestly, take your pick. And then, should Ozil leave, you have a number 10 in Bernardo Silva who doesn't hide in big matches. If Ox leaves, Thomas Lamar is a more than worthy replacement who is not injury prone and can take set pieces too. And even if the sky does fall down and Sanchez leaves, Arsenal have the money to sign one of the world's biggest talents who plays in the mold of their best ever player Thierry Henry. Of course, I'm talking about Kylian Mbappe. If that can't happen, if that is too soon, don't forget Anthony Martial was a player under Jardim, and if Mourinho keeps on ostracising him, then who knows? Lord forgive me for making this point I fundamentally don't believe in, but I know many of you do, so here it goes. Jardim's game is suited to the Premier League. Every member of the back four is over 6 feet, and that's by design. 2 holding midfielders with bundles of energy to get box to box, fullbacks who cross better than anyone, and strikers who head those crosses in. He's not afraid to mix up with technically inverted wingers too. All in all, he brings the best of Wenger's flair with much needed aggression. The only thing against him is that he hasn't managed a club the size of Arsenal, but you have to start somewhere. Imagine if Chelsea said no to Mourinho back in 2004. Besides, Jardim's track record is very, very impressive. In his only season as manager of Braga, he finished third, the second highest I've ever finished in the Portuguese league. In his only season as Olympiacos manager, he defeated Arsenal, go figure, in the Champions League, and he was leading the Greek league by 10 points before he left under acrimonious circumstances. Above all else, he'd be the easiest out of all the names I have heard linked to Arsenal to entice. That's primarily due to Monaco's relatively low status in the football elite. Secondly, due to Arsene Wenger's connection to Monaco. Guys, don't forget, Wenger used to be their manager, and he's always gone back to sign a player, proving that the connect is still breathing between the two clubs. I've seen many unrealistic names stated like Simeone. Look, your head is further in the clouds than Arsene Wenger if you genuinely believe that's going to happen. Simeone has said on numerous occasions he wants to take Atletico Madrid into their new stadium next season. He's also said he'd love to manage his former clubs, Inter Milan and Lazio. More to the point, he has never expressed an interest in coming to England. I wonder why. I just don't see Allegri switching Juventus for Arsenal. If he's patient, a much bigger role, no offence Arsenal fans, in Real Madrid will open up. Or maybe Atletico Madrid will be in a position to appoint him when Simeone eventually leaves. Another name I've frequently heard is Thomas Tuchel. And you know what? I get it. I love Dortmund, you love Dortmund, they're probably the most likeable team in the world apart from your own. But Tuchel has a lot to prove. I give him credit for revitalising Dortmund, but it doesn't excuse the fact he choked against Liverpool and Klopp in a competition where Dortmund were by far and away the best side last season. Plus, they are underperforming this season too. He's a good manager with revolutionary ideas, but Jardim's achieved far more so far. Employing Tuchel at this stage is almost as big as a risk as appointing Eddie Howe, and how many people are calling for him? Exactly. In terms of ideology, ease of appointment, and their potential for success, Jardim is the only manager Arsenal should be looking at. Or is it? Let me know in the comment section who you think should be the manager. Simeone, Allegri, Tuchel, or maybe someone I haven't even mentioned like Ronald Koeman. I hope you found this video very informative and entertaining. If so, definitely like and share so others get a chance to watch, but most importantly, subscribe for future content.
It's Big Boy Scoop keeping YouTubers in the loop, and I just want to say that you're awesome. Why? Because you're watching a channel dedicated to football analysis. How will you stay awesome? Well, you gotta do two things. Subscribe, and immediately click the bell afterwards so that you get a notification whenever I upload a video. Capiche?